Hello, welcome to the Grief Retreat. I'm Lucy.
And I'm Sam. I'm a rapid transformational therapist.
And I'm a grief recovery method specialist.
And together we're going to take you on the grief recovery process.
And we're going to give you hope and inspiration to take you from the darkness to the light. Okay, welcome to the Grief Retreat. I'm Lucy.
And I'm Sam.
And today we're going to be interviewing Paulette.
Oh, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. So, Paulette, we just want to have a chat today then about your own grief journey and basically the impacts of the grief and your physical, mental and emotional health and how you've come through it. So, do you want to start?
Yeah. If you were talking about a timeline, I think the timeline in terms of grief would be from the time when I was a child and my father left. So brought up in a single parent home. But my father, at the time when he left, I was very much his little princess. And
apple of his eye.
Apple of his eye, and it was a real big, significant challenge for me as a child, having him gone out of the house. So that's the very first time I can remember loss significantly.
Yeah.
The second time was really when I lost my job because I became so chronically ill.
Okay.
And I'll go into a little bit more about that. And the third time really has been the loss that I've had of late of my mom, my dad, my father-in-law of almost 30 years, and my stepmother, who have all died in the space of a year.
Wow.
So it has been
A lot.
quite a significant amount of loss just in this last few months.
In a short
and
space of time.
in a very, very short period of time. And a lot of people keep saying to me, you know, going through one would be enough, but
Yeah.
going through four of them that are quite close
Yeah.
has been quite significant. Especially my stepmother, who's the last one, that just happened a couple of months ago. And when I heard about her, it was the same weekend that we were doing the ashes for my father-in-law.
Oh, no.
And I physically
Yeah.
started to shake
Yeah.
because last year I was with her, helping her to sort out my dad's funeral, and she was very strong and very up and down and doing what we needed to do. And this year she's no more. So that's been really, really quite challenging.
Yeah.
What's really helped is, just even coming here and being in this environment and starting to get the help and support that I needed to start going through and processing.
Unpacking it all.
Yeah, and
Unpacking.
talking, releasing,
Absolutely.
and processing. So
Yeah.
much to process.
Yeah.
So overwhelming.
Definitely. And I think one of the things that I really love is the fact that I've been introduced now by yourselves with this this information which talks about loss, which is not just from a perspective of the loss is just about the grief of losing somebody, but the grief of other things that have been impacting my life. And really, when I lost my job because of illness, it was a case of me having burnt myself out. I mean, I've been working for many years. After I finished my degree, I even went and worked in the States and worked on Wall Street for Goldman Sachs and, had lots of stuff that was always going in my life, but it was very, very, very demanding.
Yeah.
And
Fast-paced, high energy.
Definitely. And then because my fiance at the time didn't like New York, we eventually came back here and I worked for the Home Office and so on, but still constantly doing lots and lots of work. I do a lot of work in the community. I'm an ordained minister in the community, so I also did lots and lots to help women, to help do retreats, to do lots of just serving in the community, as well as to try and do work.
Always giving.
Always giving. And then I had a very sickly mother, and then I had children. And the impact of having had all of that going on, lots of plates spinning, my body just said,
Shut down.
no
Yeah.
more. I can't
Yeah.
do any more.
Yeah.
There's no space, is there?
There really wasn't much capacity for
Yeah.
anything. And so I just began to get ill,
Okay.
and I didn't quite understand what was going on. And then it just went downhill when I thought, okay, said it to my husband because we've been married for many years, and said, you know, I'm really not feeling what's going on, and you know, I just don't know what to do. And he just said, push through it. It just push through it, because you've always
That's
done
what
so.
you've always
Yeah, yeah.
done.
And you always
It's what
know
was
to
familiar.
do what was
Yeah.
familiar. And so I carried on pushing through, and to the point where my body just collapsed. I was
Wow.
working one weekend on a high profile project. It was probably, I don't know, something like a £3.1 million project. And I was one of the project managers in this project in our community here in Birmingham. And I just came home the Saturday evening. We'd been on Central News, we'd been in the newspapers, all that kind of stuff. And my body just said,
No.
no more.
Yeah.
And what happened was that a week turned into 6 weeks, turned into 6 years,
Wow.
turned into almost 14 years
Of you not working,
of me not working, not being able to function.
that is a
Really.
huge change.
So it was a significant loss.
Yeah.
So not only had I gone from the likes of working for Goldman Sachs at
Yeah.
Wall Street and being,
Such high profile.
and then high
the
profile
elite.
probably, absolutely, to the point where
Who am
now, who am I?
Yeah.
What am I all
Lose your
about?
identity.
Definitely, you lose your identity, but also it's there is no work colleagues anymore, because after a week or so, and I was mainly doing contracting at the time when I became ill. You just lose
Yeah, of course.
everything.
Yeah.
And then what was really kind of very bizarre was that people didn't quite get it because I was not able to function. So Miss,
Especially when you'd always been that person.
always been the person
Yeah.
that people turn to,
So, yeah.
then all of a sudden, what's wrong with you? And why aren't you here at this meeting? And why aren't you there doing this? And then to look at me physically at the time, I wasn't looking as though I was really bad or anything.
Okay. So it wasn't a
because
visible illness.
It wasn't visible.
Okay.
It was a matter of chronic fatigue. I mean,
Okay.
I was so chronically
Which is
fatigued.
brutal.
Really, really, really brutal. To the point where at the time my daughter was a toddler, and I remember her not being able to hold my hand because I was so physically unwell that to touch my body
Would hurt.
would hurt.
Wow.
And later on I found out it was fibromyalgia. So
okay.
everywhere my body just ate. So you're not going out to work, and you've lost all your work colleagues, you've lost your job,
Very isolated.
you've lost your money. And I was working, I'd recently come into this area, bought a really lovely house, and having 2 lovely salaries. And then I've lost that money. And then the savings starts going and going and going and going, to the point where now what do we do?
Yeah.
So you've got all of that
All
loss.
that, yeah.
The children,
Which gets even more overwhelming.
definitely. And
Yeah.
I could hardly do anything with my children. I got to the point where I couldn't drive because I just wasn't well enough to drive. And if you sat on the settee beside me, and the settee we had leather settees, and you sat there, my body physically hurt.
Wow.
And I couldn't go out into crowds. I couldn't do lights. Everything, my body literally shut down.
Yeah.
So it was loss.
Multi-layered. Just physical, mental, emotional,
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
career, money,
Yeah.
everything. Every loss I think is possible you've had in that short
Yeah.
amount of time.
Yeah.
Because you probably lost friendships as well.
Yeah. And that's when you begin to see who's there
who's
for
your real
you.
friends are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which hurts a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for people to understand, isn't it? No one's going to fully understand that, but you still be there for your friend, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
amazing how many friends you shed at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
Yeah, and that's another grief.
I mean,
It's
I
awful.
thought because of the work that I did in the community and how much work, and I mean, that we would, anytime I wasn't at work or in my house for the short period of time, I'd be out doing stuff, raising money, helping to support people, doing presentations, doing talks, doing all sorts of stuff to help and support people. So I really thought that when I became ill, my door was going to be a revolving door, and I'd have people coming in and constantly helping and
Yeah.
supporting and so on. Be amazed. Hardly anybody
Oh,
was
that's-
there,
Yeah.
and that was really, really
And that
hurtful.
obviously knocks you down even more, doesn't it? Puts you
Certainly,
into a
yeah.
deeper depression.
Yeah. And that's what really came along is a depression like I'd never known it before.
Yeah.
To the point where I just thought, well, what is the point in being here?
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
everywhere you look, there's something.
I think we both spoke about this earlier. And we've both said actually we have been at that point ourselves where what is the point? I've got no purpose here
Yeah.
apart from my children.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that kept me. And
Yeah.
we often do say, like, we don't know where we'd be.
Yeah. Definitely. I think what's really held me together is my faith in God.
Yeah.
And almost as if to say, if you do something, he'll probably punish you.
Yeah.
But also just holding on to some of the beliefs that I had, very strong beliefs
Yeah.
from my past that has helped me to get
Keep
through
moving forward.
a lot of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really just, and I mean, at one point I couldn't even pray. As somebody that came from a religious background
Yeah.
and being an ordained minister, I thought that, but I couldn't pray because I was really, but when I was at my lowest, I could actually say, God, please help me.
Help me.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
I've done that multiple times with you. Ask God to help you in the car, in the shower, just help me.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so I'm obviously more spiritual than religious, but for me, I'd often ask my angels to help me.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
saying something like, you know,
Yeah.
I'll do anything.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I never moan again.
Yeah.
I'll be nice to that person.
Just help me.
Just please do something.
I've definitely reached
Yeah.
out to my mum for help
Right.
a lot of times.
Yeah, yeah,
Mum,
yeah.
please,
Yeah.
just show me you're around.
Show
give
it's
me some
almost like you're asking
guidance.
for a sign for a
Yeah.
guidance.
Yeah, and
Let me know I'm gonna be
I
okay.
always do feel like when I used to reach out and ask for guidance from my mum that she was around me. I used to feel
And this
it.
is after your mum's passed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, many times
Yeah.
I've asked her for help.
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
give me some guidance. And
Right.
I do. There's been times in my life when I felt around me really deeply.
Yeah.
And then not so much. But I always found them times when my worst, she'd always come round.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my spiritual belief.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
believe my mum has definitely helped me through my grief.
I mean, when I was at my worst, my mum was alive
Yeah.
and kicking,
Yeah.
but didn't understand
No.
because I'd always been there for her.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now, I can't drive to her house
Yeah.
and I can't help her and support her.
That's one of
Yeah.
the questions I was going to ask you. So when you were this invisible illness that people can't see,
Mm-hmm.
did you find that you had difficulties with friends and family who maybe wouldn't have that understanding that you're poorly? And it's almost like
Absolutely.
that eye roll, like, oh, what's wrong with her
Here she
now?
goes again.
I don't
Yeah.
mean
That's
that
how you feel.
detrimental. I'm just
Yeah.
saying
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
imagine
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably what people
Especially
have said.
my mum was extremely demanding.
Okay.
Extremely demanding, and so at a drop of a hat she'd expect me to be there. But not only that, she was quite reliant upon me because my dad left when I was about 5.
Yeah.
So I'm the eldest of 2 children and my brother lives abroad, and so she wanted to always have me there to help her and support her. So all of a sudden I can't be there, and so why can't you be there, and why can't you just run and come and take me to the hospital and take me to this appointment and take me to wherever, even though she could drive and whatever else, but I was her like second husband,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so
Again, and that again,
Yeah.
You know, it's another pressure and stress, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That we're taking on. Obviously, we know it's our parents and
Yeah.
we want to do that. But there's only so much you can physically take sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, how much more can I do?
And I was going to say that that's another loss in itself because the relationship with you and your mum has had to change because of your health. So you're losing
Yeah.
the way that you lived. That's another loss. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that brought maybe some guilt, some shame, all of those negative feelings because you think, oh, I'm just
I
not.
can't be that person
Everywhere I go,
anymore.
I'm not living the life that I knew.
Yeah.
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 So what was the turning point? What was the like back against the wall, on my knees, I've got to do something here because I'm in a bit of a really bad place?
I think it was that point where I felt like suicidal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just said, you know, I had to find meaning in my life.
Yeah. We talk about this, don't we? So
Yeah.
much meaning.
Yeah. And once I kind of got it and started to search deep,
Yeah.
then I turned it around to
Yeah.
say, okay, and that the drugs that I was on to help me with my illness,
Okay.
because they numbed a lot of the pain and tried to help me, but it made me even worse in other aspects.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
So
difficult, isn't it?
I was walking around like a zombie and I couldn't be there for my children
Yeah.
because I was just numb
Yeah.
all the time. And I decided that's not the way I wanted to be. And I started to work on a holistic way
Yeah.
of helping myself to get back on track. And I think that's why it helps being even a part of your services,
Yeah.
because it helps me to understand. So one of the things that, for example, I picked up when I had a session with you is to even look at your supplements.
Yeah.
And some supplements that really helped me in terms of even getting me through my depression and through some of my pain and helping me to build up my immune system,
Yeah,
etc.,
absolutely.
etc.
Yeah, yeah.
And not just looking at it from a one perspective
Yeah,
point of
definitely.
view,
Yeah.
but looking at body, soul,
Absolutely. Well,
spirit.
that recovery is
Yeah.
it's all part of everything, isn't
Yeah.
it? We're not going to recover.
If we're
Yeah.
just focusing on one,
Yeah,
one
Yeah.
part of ourselves.
Yes,
Yeah, or if
yeah.
we're not eating properly, you
Yeah.
know, like taking supplements, you're not fully going to recover.
No.
You need
Yeah.
to build up your energy levels again. And,
Yeah,
It's got to
you know,
be.
it's the whole package, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's looking at
So-
you as the whole person.
definitely.
What did you, so you went down the holistical route, and so, you know, we talk about medication and, you know, as a short fix. So what was the main things you started to do?
I think looking at the supplements that I needed, getting treatments for what I needed. So having things like lymphatic massages where you drain the lymph system and just start to get a bit more energized. Doing things like acupuncture
Yeah.
and osteopathy. And pretty much every treatment that
Tried
was
it
out
all.
there, I tried
Tried
it
it.
to try to see
Yeah.
what worked. And, you know, I found certain things that
Yeah.
worked really well and certain things that didn't work so well.
And it's finding what works for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I
And
think in
everyone's
those moments
different.
of desperation, it's like,
Yeah.
give me everything
Yeah.
and I'll try it all and then
Yeah.
I'll wean it down
Yeah.
to these handful of things that serve me, because me and Lucy are the same, and what suits Luce maybe won't suit me, and it's finding the
Definitely.
tools in your box
Yeah.
that can help you move forward,
Yeah.
keep your head above water,
Yeah.
see change, and
Yeah.
ultimately make you feel good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, we're talking again, which we always go back to, self-care. It's
Yeah,
the self-care
Yeah.
and the self-love and the self-belief. And for me, it's always been there's three fundamental things for recovery.
Yeah.
We've got to take care of ourselves. We've got
Yeah.
to take time for us.
And I think especially as women,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we give so much.
The thing is, people don't take their health and wellness seriously until they're ill.
Yeah.
And then we take it seriously,
Yeah, yeah.
but we don't want to have that knock on the door. We're ill,
Yeah.
and then you've just got to start a little bit before that,
Yeah.
haven't we?
I mean,
Yeah.
my dream is to help people to understand prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But oftentimes it is, you know, I mean, last week I was talking at a conference, and one of the things that this conference was doing was talking about burnout. So I help people now who have burnt themselves out, because I knew later on that it was because of burnout. That's why I
Yeah, of
became so
course.
chronically ill. And at this conference, must have been about 12 of us is there who are speaking. And everybody, I mean, the conference was all around burnout, but you would just not believe the amount of people who have said, I've experienced burnout. And I know that I've seen reports, for example, where Deloitte have said like 70% of people since COVID have said that they've burnt themselves out. I think I was trying to work with, and I was in New York in the summer and at a conference which talked about not just work-life balance, but work-life integration. And so because we're doing a lot of working from home as well as working in our offices and doing lots of things, which is all together with our home lives as
Yeah.
well. And it's all
Yeah.
trying to be
Trying to be
mingled in.
everything under one roof.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't separate it,
No.
Yeah.
and therefore are now beginning to feel that they are
Yeah.
burning themselves out because they're trying to
Yeah.
juggle
Because
everything.
in COVID, you'd be work, parent, social, all in one room.
Yeah.
And that isn't the way to live your life. You have to have
Yeah.
those separate areas and be
Yeah.
those different people.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So I know there's a big thing now which is talking about work-life integration because people are trying now to see if they can work out what it is that they need to do
Yeah.
to keep themselves well. So
And have a
prevention
balanced life.
and have the balance.
But don't
yeah.
you think growing up? I mean, I don't know your age and everything, but I remember when I was growing up, working hard
Yeah.
was. We've got to work hard.
Yeah.
You've got to work through it. You've got
Yeah.
to be the last person out the door. You've got to
Yeah.
be the first person in the office.
Yeah.
If you do the overtime, it was rewarded
Yeah.
to work that way. Whereas now the world's changing. And I
Definitely.
think now there's a shift in having that balance.
Yeah.
So it doesn't create ill health. Whereas
Yeah.
growing up, that's all I remember.
Yeah.
Is being
Yeah.
promoted
And
almost.
but also not putting that pressure on yourself when you do have them down days and say, you know what, today I need a down day. I
Yeah.
need to, whereas I can't believe I need to get to work. I need
Yeah.
to be at the gym. I need to be here.
I mean,
No.
when I was working on Wall Street, one of the things is that when you worked an extended day, we had a line because I worked in one of the tall skyscrapers,
Yeah.
and you go downstairs and there's a line of limousines there, and they would take you anywhere in Manhattan or anywhere in the city or back home. I lived in Brooklyn at the time, and when it was month end or year end, they, even though we had a restaurant at the bottom of the skyscraper, fabulous restaurant, we had lots of different, it's New York, you had lots of shops where you could get food just across the way and whatever else, but they still brought in food to you to make certain that you worked and you worked and you worked, and that was the expectation. Now I'm living a life where actually
I'm going to stop and have my lunch.
I will stop and I will look out and I see that the weather is great because I'm working from home and it might be 11 o'clock, but actually I can do this. I can make certain that I look after me. So one of the things I have in my head is something called what I call smooth, which is S for sun, get some sunshine in me.
Yeah.
The M is for making certain that I do some movement every day. So I get out and do my little bit of walking or some stretching and so on, and my meditation. And then W for water. So making certain that I have enough water every day in me.
absolutely,
So
yeah.
just looking after me again.
Basic foundation, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's all part of our self-care.
Yeah.
And the problem is so many people don't know how to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I
You
think
know.
I haven't got time to put those lotions
They
on. I
haven't
haven't got time for that water.
Yeah.
I haven't got time to speak to my friend. I'm just busy. But actually,
But
busy
people,
doing what?
people talk about having time out as like they've gone. I said like they might go for something to eat with their friend, but that isn't time out.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Self-care
You're still giving
time
to
out.
others, aren't you, when
yeah,
you do
you
that?
need take time out for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really
yeah.
hard to teach people to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a part of our recovery and a part of obviously of the burnout.
Yeah.
People realise that taking the time out would make such a difference.
Definitely.
Getting into the corporate world, oh my God, and teaching that is so important.
And even if we start off with like I said, the SMW, the smooth as I call it, smooth each day have a smooth day. right? And making certain that you do have your sunlight, your movement, and your water. And even if you just started off with that basic,
It's just your morning routine,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
just your morning
Yeah.
routine,
Morning routine.
and then you can set yourself up for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And I just love that.
And do you feel like that's helped you through, help you recover through your recovery, your healing journey?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Looking after me and not feeling as though it's selfish, selfish,
Yeah.
but being selfless.
Yeah.
You know, understanding that I do have to put that oxygen mask on my
Yeah.
face
And
first.
Okay, and so let's talk about then, obviously, the last 12 months. Okay, so you've had all this loss and bereavement. So what would you say, all these tools and techniques that you've learned, has that helped you deal with your loss a bit easier? Or I know,
Yeah.
obviously, I know you're here and I'm coaching you at the moment to release that pain and talk about it. So I feel you feel like you need that, and
Yeah.
of course you do.
Yeah.
But would you say all the journey you've been on the last 10 years has
Oh,
helped
absolutely. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got a few thousand people that follow me online,
you? Yeah,
and a lot of them have seen my journey.
yeah.
Because I've shared a lot of what's gone on, and a lot of
me and Sam
people,
Oversharing.
Me and Sam will love a share.
and a lot of people have
Yeah.
said to me, "I just can't believe that you're still smiling."
Oh.
And I think it's because of my grounding of having
Yeah.
had those experiences, those losses, and learned how to look after myself. And again, alongside my faith, that has really helped me to be able to say, I can still stand.
I can handle it.
I can, and I'm handling it. I don't even say it. I just do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to. But it has taken a lot of time and attention. And some people say, "How do you do it?" And it's not just one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is going to therapy.
It's a lot
Yeah.
of things.
It
isn't
is
it?
making certain you have your nutrition and look after
Yeah.
your body.
Yeah.
You could probably
It
like,
is
write a whole long
treatment.
list of stuff
Yeah.
that you have to do.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why, earlier I was saying to you guys that, I've written a book, and that book was really clearly brought out of, because a lot of people kept saying, "How do you do it?" And I said it's a combination of things. So in that book, I've said, these are the different steps that I've taken. I've put in my nutrition. I do my treatment. I make certain I get my counselling. I make certain I do my meditation and pray and move and sunlight
absolutely.
and and it's a combination of. And one of the things that I wrote about in this
What's your
book,
book called?
it's called Healing Me Naturally.
Right.
Yeah,
I like that.
and
Yeah.
healing me, ME,
Yeah,
naturally,
naturally.
because they said I had an ME.
Okay.
So healing me
that's
naturally.
good. Yeah, I like that.
And one of the last things that I wrote about is even guarding your space. So the people around you,
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Spoke of those quite a lot.
these people around you, you
Yeah.
have to guard against them.
Yeah.
And so what I have is what I call white margins. So there is, you can have people within this space of the page, but you have your white margins, and nobody is going to take from
Yeah.
that white margin.
love that.
That belongs to me.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you have to guard that space, as otherwise you
It's
can have
setting your
people.
boundaries, isn't it?
Definitely.
You've got to set your boundaries. So,
Definitely.
I've learned, especially in the last 7 years since losing my parents and my divorce, so many people come into them boundaries and knock you back.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
Yeah.
And so you've got to get to a point and go, no, here's my white margin, here's my boundary.
Yeah.
And you are not affecting my mental health anymore.
Just
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
little bit of distance.
You've got
Yeah.
you've got to.
It's not
Yeah.
easy sometimes.
It's not
but
easy,
needed.
and yes, it is sometimes. Some people might say, "Well, can't you help them?" Well, I can't help everybody. There's some people have to take responsibility for themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
There's only so much you can do, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But sometimes you do have to be selfish and say,
Yeah.
"No, I'm cutting
Yeah.
off from this now."
And I think for me, even as a coach, because as a result of, for years I've always been helping people, and a lot of people after becoming so ill, they said to me, you'd be really good as a coach. So I decided to train myself up and become a coach
Yeah,
rather than I used to be an IT project manager.
Yeah.
It's like worlds apart, but I love
Yeah.
It's your
helping
passion
people.
and meaning.
Definitely. But one of the things I've realized is that a lot of people will keep on coming, but it's understanding, well, who is it that I can really serve, and who is it that I can't
'Cause you don't
serve.
just want the takers
Absolutely. And
who take
oftentimes,
from you.
yeah, and people will come to me and say, oh, can you just not help me? And you have to know who are the right people as well
Yeah.
within that space.
So now you've got new meaning, new purpose.
Oh,
you're
I
writing a
love
book,
it, love it, love it, love it.
Your house improved.
Definitely. And one of the things that you talked about, Sam, is about the morning time.
Yeah.
And the thing that I found has really helped is that quiet time of meditation
Yeah.
and getting to know you better. So whether that's going out into the park, into nature, or just having that set up in the morning, before you've let people invade your day, because
Yeah.
people will, technology, the news, the media,
Yeah.
all sorts will, it's having that space of calm so that you know who you are, and
Absolutely.
also getting the guidance, I feel, for me, from up above,
Yeah.
as to what my day is and what my life is going to be.
Yeah.
As a result of that, then people can't evade
Yeah.
and
So
make
I call it
certain.
protect the bookends of your day. So the first hour and the last hour,
Yeah,
don't let external like circumstances, the news, social media messages, emails, anything external impact you. Protect those 2 hours, the first hour, last hour. Make it about you,
yeah,
because then the bit in between you'll probably be able to handle better.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And what I tend to do is in the morning time, I write my gratitude journal
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
to just welcome my day in
Yeah.
and just give God thanks
Yeah.
for all the beautiful things that's in my life. And then at the end of the day, I unwind with, what has happened in my day and how can I unpack the day so that I don't go
Go to
into
bed with it all.
yeah, and you just
And
release it.
I practice gratitude, and I think some of my clients who are really in deep grief are like, well, I've got nothing to be grateful for today.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it's so to get someone to turn
It takes
that
time.
grief,
Yeah.
their grief into feeling grateful.
Yeah.
Takes
It's
time.
starting off small, isn't it?
It starts small, but
Starting off
once
with
they
being
start to
grateful that I
practice
can-
it,
Yeah.
it really works.
and I mean, even if it's just for 3 things
Yeah.
that you can do,
Yeah.
to just say I'm grateful. And if you can't think of something today, what in the past that has happened to you that you're grateful for?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
it's the people, if it's your parents, if it's your child, or
Situation,
something
experience,
that you've had.
the
Yeah.
water, the
Yeah.
going outside today, being able to have lunch. It can be
Yeah.
a
It's
thing, a person,
amazing.
experience.
Yeah.
It's amazing how so many people focus on the things they haven't got, and you'll never have enough. Then that's
Yeah.
the problem. You always focus on the things that have happened
And it
to you, or
also
the things that
blocks.
haven't
Yeah.
got. Let's focus on the things we have got.
And I think
So-
you need to be conscious, aware that, there are times where you are going to be sad about stuff
Yeah.
and still be able to embrace it.
Yeah.
But if you have, let's say for me, I try and do a 3-to-1 scenario. For every one bad thing, think of 3 things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 things that's really good that I can say, okay, that overshadows the bad stuff,
Yeah.
and I try and do that.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. It's been
My pleasure.
amazing, and you're doing absolutely fantastic.
Can't
and
wait to see your book either.
Is your book out now?
Yeah,
Yeah, it is out,
It's been
isn't
on
it?
Amazon for quite a
Yeah,
while.
it's on Amazon,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
people can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
So that's great.
yeah,
But no, it's great. It's great to have someone like yourself here because it's an inspiration, and that's what we want, and we want our listeners to, be inspired. So
Yeah, thank you so
much.
much.
pleasure. Thank you.